You look familiar. Yes, Stephen. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, welcome back.
I think you're the person I want to interview after the meeting.
Okay. I'll be around. Okay.
What's the best number to reach you?
786 5334.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 5 high schools.
Okay. Do you want to? Yeah. Usually we go into closed session. You want? Oh, okay. That's fine. Let's go. Okay, that's fine. Good. Very good, Steve. Thank you.
How are you? Get out of here.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first meeting of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors in the year 2018. Hopefully you noticed the very enthusiastic gaveling of this meeting this morning. That's because this gavel belongs to the next chairman and not me. So I'm happy to put the first dent in it. Before we get started with our meeting, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and follow that with a moment of silence. We will be led today by Supervisor Michael T. Ennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Join me in saluting our great American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. So item number 1 on our agenda is going to be a reorganization of the board. But before I take that up, I just really wanted to quickly go over 2017, my year as the chairman of this board. I think that the county had an outstanding year, and so did this board. But I just wanted to recap a few things. I thought 2017 was a very strong year for Tulare County. I would like to thank all of the employees of Tulare County for their efforts to deliver outstanding customer service to the residents of Tulare County. I would like to thank the Tulare County department heads for constantly working to implement the vision of the Board of Supervisors. It is also important to thank the CAO, his staff, and the Board of Supervisors, my colleagues, for all their work and dedication working on behalf of all the constituents we all serve in Tulare County. I'm proud to be a Tulare County supervisor. I am proud of the year that the county had in 2017. There were many significant accomplishments, of which I'd like to highlight a few. We had a $1.2 billion adopted budget, resulting in the delivery of essential services to the Tulare County taxpayer. We had a $33 million in reserve and contingency fund balance. $197 million were added to the value of this county through new building permits. We had over $40 million in road construction projects going on throughout the county. We had an increase of $556,000 in our transient occupancy tax, and we also approved the Animal Confined Facilities Plan, which is an absolutely essential plan and roadmap for a significant portion of our economy, and that's the dairy industry in Tulare County. Significant progress and completion of disadvantaged communities water projects. We also had the creation of new departments in the Registrar of Voters and the General Services Agency. And we also have a new elected official who was appointed during that time in Cass Cook as our new auditor, controller, treasurer, tax collector. We also had improvements, too, in the construction of new parks in Tulare County, specifically in Mooney Grove and also in the community of Early Mart. And if you have a chance to see that new park we have in Early Mart, that is truly a jewel in the county. We also had the grand opening of the Tulare Acres facility occupied by the Tulare County Sheriff's Administration, as well as the Tulare County Fire Department. And last, we also had the creation of the Strategic Finance Ad Hoc Committee, which began and undertook some very critical analysis of many of the significant issues that are going to be of concern to the general operation of this county and the funding of this county going forward, whether it was retirement or the funding of our public safety departments. And if you give the sheriff an inch, he takes a mile and makes for a lot of expenditures for us. Right there, Mr. Boudreaux. He looked down when I started talking about his department. I saw that. So many accomplishments to highlight, yet so much to look forward to. I'm confident that 2018 will be another outstanding year for Tulare County. I look forward for what is to come, and would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the final year of two outstanding supervisorial careers of two of my colleagues on this Board of Supervisors, whom I have worked with, now entering my 10th year. Supervisor Mike Ennis wrapping up a 12-year career on this Board of Supervisors, and Supervisor Steve Worthley concluding a career of over 20 years. Pretty incredible. We're going to be losing a significant wealth of knowledge from this board this year, so we really have to enjoy every minute that we have together as a board over this coming year.
It's a eulogy.
32 years of experience leaving us, but I want to thank all of you. I want to thank my colleagues for having faith in me and giving me the opportunity to serve in 2017 as chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And with that, I will take up item number 1 on our agenda, which is the election of the chairman and vice chairman of the Board of Supervisors for the year 2018.
Chairman, thank you. On that note, I would like to nominate Mr. Steve Worthley from District 4, Supervisor, and Supervisor Kyler Crocker from District 1. And the reason why we're going with Supervisor Kyler Crocker instead of me is because I'm going off the board next year. And I think Kyler would gain a lot from the experience of being vice chair and also being able to go to agenda reviews and doing the things that he'll be having to do as chairman later on down the road. So with that, Supervisor Worthley is chairman, Supervisor Crocker is vice chairman.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I have a motion by Supervisor Ennis, a second by Supervisor Struckling. Please vote. Motion is approved unanimously. Love putting dents in his gavel. And with that, I will turn over the gavel.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I would like to say, right off the bat, thank you to the board. I am humbled by your seeing in me the desire to serve as your chairman this coming year. I know that this was sort of set in motion last year with 2 new members coming on the board last year, and we will have, as mentioned, 2 more coming on next year. And so to spend my last year as the 20th year of serving in this capacity as your chairman is truly an honor, and I appreciate that. And I hope to share with members of the board and our staff and the public as much of the information as I possibly can without boring you to death as far as history and so forth as we move forward to this year. It has been a real honor and a privilege for me to be in this county, and I will on the 17th be talking about the vision and accomplishments we hope to have happen in this coming year. So hopefully you'll join us then for more of that. And I have with me today to present to Mr. Vanderpool in appreciation for his outstanding leadership and as chairman of the Board of Supervisors for 2017. His gavel, which is well dented up, because if you know Pete, he likes to use the gavel. Most of us just accept the motion as being passed. He's got a motion passed, every time that happens, and so it does get a little bit dented up. But anyway, it's good to pass this on to him and say congratulations, Pete. Thank you so much for your hard work and very appreciated. You've done a great job in your leadership. And I'm going to exercise the chairman's prerogative right now and take something out of order. Uh-oh. I think it's medicine in the form of coffee coming forward.
Not mine.
That's a special
see.
delivery from my wife.
Tea we have in the cupboard.
A little extra present is going out to chairman for the chairman. I would like to take up this time our item number 3. We've got several people in the very back of the building that I know are just anxious to get back to school. And so at this time, we're going to recognize the Golden West High School football team as the 2017 Central Section Division IV champions. Gentlemen, if you would please come forward. Samantha is your coach for the moment here.
I'm good with that.
Come. All right. So I'm assuming the coach is going to have a few words to share with us about his year and his team, and we're looking forward to hearing that. Congratulations. While the team is making their way in, I want to say that, I've been engaged with I had 4 children, all of who were quite active in sports and music, and Golden West has really made such a tremendous rebound, because I can recall when they had some more difficult years in the past, and so congratulations to you all for an excellent season.
Did they beat Dinuba?
They didn't play Dinuba
Oh,
this year.
okay. Could you guys beat Dinuba if you played them?
Probably. We couldn't
Probably
beat-
anybody?
We couldn't beat Tulare Union, and we lost to them twice. But good morning, sir.
Morning. No, we did not play Dinuba. They didn't want to play us. I don't know. But it's my pleasure to coach these guys. As you guys were mentioning, 7 years ago when I took over, it was not the same program. These guys put aside whatever differences they may had, came together as a team, and had an incredible year. Actually, they've had an incredible 2 years. We've won 22 out of 26 games over the last 2 years, which is an incredible accomplishment for these guys. The biggest thing that I'm proud of is that they don't care who gets the credit. And it's amazing what can be done when a whole lot of people get together and put the job first and who gets the credit second. And very proud of all these young men. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm John DeLong, and I'm the athletic director. And I just wanted to say thank you for having us here, because as I was watching Mr. Vanderpool go over the year in review, I was looking at the boys, and today's really a civics lesson for them. It's a real-life civics lesson to see the government in action. So thank you very much for having us. I know this is something that not everybody gets to do. So thank you very much.
You're welcome to stay as long as you'd like.
Yes, yeah. Well, what we do have for the is that right? We have a proclamation, and the proclamation is going to be presented by the Vice Chairman, Mr. Kyler Crocker.
And you can tell Kyler was a football player, offensive lineman.
That's right. Little Strathmore. We don't get them big.
I thought
I just want to congratulate all you young men and the coaching staff and the staff as well at the high school. This is a great honor to be not only the state runner-ups and the state section champions, but to also be the first high school in Visalia's history to host a state championship. And I think it was a great deal for our community. I think high school football in Tulare County is alive and well. We've got some great competition throughout our county, but you guys really did a great job representing our community, and I'm happy to represent Golden West in my part of the district. And so with that, almost 5,500 yards rushing for the year. That is outstanding. I mean, that's really phenomenal, and led the state in that. And so I want to read this, honoring the Golden West High School football team, not only for the other accomplishments, but also as the 2017 Central Section Division IV champions. Whereas Division IV of the California Interscholastic Federation's Central Section is comprised of 19 high school football teams covering Fresno, Kings, Kern, Madera, and Tulare counties. And whereas the Golden West High School football team won the Central Section Division Championship by beating Central Valley Christian High School 27-21 in overtime. And whereas this is the Trailblazers' first ever Central Section Championship title and the first time a Visalia High School has hosted a state playoff game in football. And whereas for the first time in any sport, Golden West High School won the Southern California Regional Championship title to win over Big Bear High School. And whereas in the 2017 season, Golden West led the state in yards rushed, 5,492, and running attempts, 748. And whereas Golden West's advancement to the state championship bowl game was Visalia's first appearance in the state final and the first high school state final to be played in Visalia in any sport. And whereas the Trailblazers have proven that hard work and dedication to lead to success on the field. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors does hereby honor the Golden West High School varsity football team as the 2017 Central Section Division IV champions and commends them on their record season. Signed January 9th, 2018, Kyler Crocker, Vice Chair, Pete Vanderpool, Amy Shucklian, Stephen Worthley, Chairman, and Mike Ennis. Congratulations.
Now,
we have certificates for everyone, and let's grab a picture here in the well. And any board members that would like to participate,
I think we'll
come on
stand in
in.
the
We'll
back.
stand in the back.
It's going to be crowded. We'll stand in the back. Yeah, you can't, maybe you should stand in the back, Kyle.
Hey, Kyler, we should have got you a box.
All guys in the back, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that works. There we go.
I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna just spot. I'm gonna find a spot.
Big T.
He knows his place, right?
Move to the back.
Hey, Steve, when Stratford, there's only 20 people on the team, right? So it's a lot smaller.
That's half the school.
Yeah, a lot of
I know.
You can almost barely see it.
Well, I think we need a stool back there for the photographer, right?
All right, supervisors, you're gonna have to stand on your tippy toes because these tall football boys are blocking you.
I know it. Make us look like a bunch of wimps.
We got Kyler down front for a reason.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, all set?
That's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, guys, have a good day. Thanks for coming.
Congratulations,
Nice work.
guys.
Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations, you guys. Good job. Good job.
He's lost in the crowd. They got him knocked down.
That's Japanese. It's Japanese.
They're big guys.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, come on, how do you not eat? But for the place that manufactures it,
You couldn't have made the ball boy that day.
right?
Water boy.
If it was shit, I wouldn't have fine, but I would have kept it.
That's
Thank you, Supervisor Crocker. We will now take up the Board of Supervisors matters, and we'll
Thank
begin.
you. Congratulations again.
Thanks for being here, Coach.
Congratulations. Good luck to you guys.
Yeah. We'll begin with Supervisor Ennis on the end about board matters.
Okay, great. Yesterday we had our Cooley meeting, which we continue to work on the raising of the spillway for Success Dam. We had Katie Charan, who is the lead person on this project with the Corps. She came down and went over where we are with the spillway. And I think the concerns right now is the dam safety issues are done. We spent between $30 and $40 million studying a dam, which there was absolutely nothing wrong with. But, you know, thanks to the power that be. Because in 2003 is when we were supposed to go forward with this project. Now here we are, 2018, and we're trying to move forward with it again. But the only thing that has happened is our costs have gone way up between what they were as far as real estate, the different things that we need to do to make this thing go forward have almost doubled in price. So the thing we're doing is trying to get the federal government to realize that it's not our problem that these costs have gone up so much. It's the problem that they've wasted all this time studying the dam, and now, 15 years has gone by, and costs have gone out of sight. Now, another wrinkle they put in this thing is with the problems they had with Oroville Dam, which is a state project, with a spillway. Now they're going to add some requirements onto us. Now, if we'd had any problems with our spillway, In 1966, we had 8,500 second feet going over that spillway. And it went over there for, probably about 24-hour period. If we'd had any problems then, it would have showed up. And there really is none because the spillway is built on solid rock. It does have a wall which they've put in there down below the surface to keep it from doing any erosion. But there was no erosion at all inside the spillway proper. So that's another issue that we're trying to work with them on right now. But we should know by April 30th whether or not this project can move forward. So we're working real close with the Corps. I know Congressman McCarthy is on board with us, and he's helping us any way he can as our go-between with the Corps, and hopefully trying to get some money put on the budget. We probably won't make it this year, but possibly next year if we can get this thing put together and move this project forward. It's about a 2-year project once it starts. So that's kind of where we are right now. We had a good meeting yesterday. I think that everybody voiced their concerns. We had Kyle Lombardi on from Congressman McCarthy's office. He was on there, as well as Calvin Foster, the person in charge of Success Dam and the dams in the area. So that's kind of where we are, and hopefully this thing is going to move forward. It's been a long time coming. Thank you.
Supervisor Crocker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next week I have an RCRC board meeting in Sacramento that I will be attending. We'll also be formally installing our new slate of officers that we elected at our December meeting. I want to give a heads up to department heads that are in the audience or listening that I will be reaching out over the next few weeks to begin scheduling meetings, just to kind of check in, nothing in particular, but just kind of check in for the year and see how things are going. And then I want to give a big thank you to our sheriff and RMA and to our fire department for all the work and help and participation in the Strathmore Parade. It went off phenomenally. It was not over in 5 minutes like I thought it might be. I also thought that there might be more participants in the parade than actually observing, and that was not the case. And it was phenomenal for our community. We even had a flyby. And I was told by that helicopter that it despite that maybe someone from the CAO's office that thought it might be the sheriff's, is not the sheriff's helicopter. It was a CAL FIRE helicopter, but it was a great turnout. It was something that we memorialized, and hopefully all the young men and the staff can remember for years and years to come. And I also want to just thank our CAO for not only the support for that effort, but also for attending. It was not required or necessary, but it was a welcome sight to see you there. So I appreciate all the help. I know there were many people helping with road closures and making sure that vehicles were going and operating, and our county was there in full force. And I know the team and the community really appreciates it well.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Sheckley?
Yeah, I'd just like to say Happy New Year to everybody. It's been a while since we met. On December 22nd, I believe it was, fishing returned to Mooney's Grove Park. I don't know if is Neil here, John? Neil Pilligard, our parks manager, has worked diligently with Fish and Game, and they came out and tested the pond at Mooney's Grove Park and thought that it was okay. So throughout the winter, they will be stocking the park with about 500 pounds of rainbow trout every 2 weeks. So we had probably over 200 people, kids and adults, out there on that first day. And Neil tells me that every day since, and I've driven out there a few times, there's 20 to 30 up to 50 people out there. And I think they restocked it again this last Friday. Unfortunately, I missed that. But I did catch one fish finally after about 2 hours. I have photos. If you don't believe me, it was like this big, too. It was huge.
That was the catcher with the net.
Oh, yeah. Well, when they were letting them out of the truck, they were flopping on the cement and everything. I'm like, hell, I'm grabbing that one and getting my 5, but I guess you can't do that. So I'll be getting my yearly fishing license now and going out there. It's really nice, and I think in the future we hope to have a fishing derby. Again, it's been probably 30 or 40 years, I think, since fishing has been allowed at the park. So that'll just be through the winter because of the temperatures. Also, last night, I participated on a panel that was put on by Visalia Times Delta and the 210 Connect. They named it Up in Smoke. It was regarding the legalization of marijuana and how that would affect the different communities throughout Tulare County. And it was a very good discussion. I learned a lot. And I want to also thank, from the Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Bobby Rader. Sheriff did an excellent job on that panel last night. So tell him thank you for me. The other thing is I was recently appointed by the CSAC Board of Directors to be a representative on the Board of Directors for the Institute for Local Government. And the Institute for Local Government is a non-partial organization that promotes good government at the local levels. They offer impartial, easy-to-use resources and all, so we all can be better elected officials. So I'm very excited to be a part of that organization. That's it.
Supervisor Vanderpool.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things I wanted to go over. First of all, I will say again, happy 2018. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. Yesterday, there was a meeting of the Greater Cahuilla Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and we continue to plug along. That organization is now talking about the hiring of professional staff to run that organization. I know that the Mid-Cahuilla has done so already, and they have their manager in place. But the Greater Cahuilla is going to be entertaining that process and hopefully having someone in place by June of this coming year. They also did go over, maybe Supervisor Worthley is a little bit more familiar with the Prop 1 allocations, but apparently there was $83 million available for groundwater sustainability efforts up and down the state. And they received, by the deadline, only a total of $84 million in applications. And so nearly every one who applied for this groundwater sustainability funding from the state water bond is going to be allocated. So what that means for Tulare County, being we make up, I think it was like 17% how they break down the cost sharing, but the overall cost to form the plan going forward into implementation is several $1 million. And so we applied as the Greater Cahuilla for $1.5 million, and there's a good chance we're going to be getting that amount, and that offsets county contribution, which is very nice to know. And so anyone else who, whether you are in the Alta or any of the other GSAs, may end up being awarded those monies, and so that will help the county as well. Have a meeting of the Tulare County Employees Retirement Board on tomorrow at 8:30, and then this week, I believe on Thursday, I have a ad hoc committee meeting for TCAG, further addressing the Lindsay issue and the repayment of the misspending of Measure. So that's what I have for this week.
Thank you, Supervisor Vanderpool. A couple items I just wanted to report on is this Friday we will be having a San Joaquin Valley Water Infrastructure Authority meeting at the Fresno Irrigation District. This will be the last meeting we have before we will be having the Water Commission. The following week we'll be meeting in Sacramento, and they will be determining what different programs and projects are going to be approved by that chapter. I think it's chapter 9 of the Prop 1. You're referring to a separate prop.
Yeah.
There was different chapters of that proposition. The one that was for storage projects, $2.7 billion, will be, the allocation won't occur until next June, but they will be determining of the 11 projects that were submitted. I guess there were 12, but one of them I think has already been kicked out. 11 projects submitted, which ones are still in the funding race, so that'll be a very informative meeting. We will not be having a meeting next week because of the 3-day holiday. We will be having a special meeting on the 16th, however, with the Water Commission, which a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors and the Water Commission. I believe that's the very first one we've ever held, and it'll be held in A and B behind you there. So that'll be happening next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and then the following day I'll be headed to Sacramento for the Executive Committee of the CSAC Board of Directors, which will be meeting on Thursday morning. So without any further ado, we will move on to our next item, which is public comments. Anybody wishing to address the board this morning on items of within our jurisdictional authority, but not on today's agenda, are invited to come forward at this time and give us public comment if you would like to do that. And I don't see anybody moving, so we'll move on to item number 5. To our consent calendar. And on the consent calendar, item 5 will be pulled for a separate presentation. Item 7 is going to be modified as follows. These are the cancellation of the meetings for 2018. June 12th will be June 19th instead of the 12th. August 14th will be August 7th rather than the 14th. And then we're adding November 13th because that'll be a holiday on the Monday before for Veterans Day. So that'll be the proposed calendar for next year. And then item 8 is going to be pulled for separate consideration, and we will actually need to go into closed session briefly on that matter after we take action on the balance of the consent calendar. Are there any other items which members would like to have pulled off and handled separately? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 6 just for some corrections, as well as item 35 for a question.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if there's nothing further to be removed or amended on the calendar by board members or members of the public, I would move for approval of the consent calendar, less those items mentioned.
Second that.
Motion by Supervisor Vanderpool, seconded by Supervisor Ennis. Any further discussion? If not, please cast your ballots. Votes unanimous. Approved. We'll go back then and take up item number 5. Morning, Mr. Cook.
Morning, Cass Cook, Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector. It's a pleasure to be here. This item is amendment to the existing transient occupancy tax ordinance. I say transient occupancy tax, but many of us will refer to it as TOT or TOT or even hotel tax. So it's a tax of many names. So when you think of hotel tax, you might think of a large commercial building, multiple stories, many rooms, lots of people coming in and out. Well, now we're in the 21st century and businesses have changed, and what we see is a lot of residential property owners who are renting out their homes for vacationers and things as such. So the business has completely changed, and because of that, we needed to change I'll call it the TOT ordinance. So in recent years, increase in number of what we'll call short-term vacation rentals have begun operating in the unincorporated Tulare County area. The increase is linked to websites such as Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, and many others. So these are online hosting platforms, and they allow their clients to operate short-term rentals regardless of whether the TOT tax is collected. So we are trying to increase our efforts to collect this tax, come into the 21st century, modernize the ordinance. So the amendment will include a number of things. I won't get into the weeds, but just generally, we're updating terms, including what a hotel, the definition of hotel, and that includes a hotel, an inn, tourist home, or house, a motel, basically broadening the scope. New language also includes short-term residential rental, and that's language that's used online in these online platforms. There's also section titles were updated to current terminology to assist with a better understanding of the intended meaning of the section. For example, there was a section certificate of delinquency and transient occupancy tax lien, and now that'll be actions to collect delinquent and defaulted taxes, penalties, and interest. So we're looking at terms. We're also trying to increase our ability and the tools in our toolkit to collect this TOT, always with the idea of being equitable and being fair. In particular, the amendments emphasize the authority of the tax collector to place liens on real property and authorize the tax collector to follow certain procedures to seize a hotel operator's property as necessary pending further proceedings. I will add, just as a point of reference, back in 2012-13 fiscal year, we had about 90 registered TOT or hotel operators, which we collected TOT from for about $1.3 million. In 17, we're collecting in excess of $2 million, and that's approaching 200 hotels. So we've really increased our efforts and really just want to have the ordinance match what's happening in society today and modernize it. So that's...
Any questions, Supervisor Vanderpool?
Cass, do you have any idea how many entities are out there that are should be paying TOT tax but aren't? Have you done any estimates?
I mean, it's difficult to say who is not. I will say we are diligent in. We'll go on websites. We'll go on these websites and we're searching for these properties. So we're putting forth active effort to find them. We're not just waiting for them to come to us and say, "Hey, I want to pay my TOT." We're going to the websites looking for them, and we're looking at other opportunities and things to find these entities. It's difficult to say how many.
Yeah, and then in terms of updating this ordinance, have you looked to some of the other counties that may have more active vacation rental markets to sort of make sure that we're covering all of the components that maybe those more, I don't want to say more experienced, but if they have more frequent vacationers, they probably are going to be a little bit more up on collecting that revenue.
Sure, and this is modeled after other counties are.
Good, thank you.
Supervisor Crocker.
Yeah, just for a point of clarification, this, correct me if I'm wrong, Cass, but this is simply an update of existing. I think what I have talked about and what's come up at a Three Rivers town hall in the past is something that's separate from this issue. So this is more or less a modernization of the existing ordinance, but this is not governing short-term vacation rentals or anything online. It's on a separate track, and yet we have met with Hiley and other staff members to make sure that we're working together on this.
That's
Is that correct?
An existing separate track. We've been working on this for.
Any other questions? Just one comment I was going to make is that, we collect these taxes, and it's not like, oh, my goodness, manna from heaven. There are services that are related to them. So, you're going to have more calls out for sheriff, or perhaps out of fire, for injuries or whatever, illnesses. And then also some of these funds go back, if I'm not mistaken, are redirected back into tourism in terms of how we promote tourism within Tulare County. So these are funds that are utilized in a very helpful way. I mean, it actually goes back to benefit those who are paying them, the hotel trade and so forth, because the more we can enhance and promote tourism in Tulare County, the more people will be coming, and it's a very positive thing. So any further comments or questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to waive the second reading and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Crocker, seconded by Supervisor Shucklian. All in favor? Please cast your votes.
All in favor, push the button.
And the vote is unanimously approved. We will now move to item number 6. This is our Supervisor Committee assignments. Supervisor Crocker.
I just wanted to, just for clarity's sake, the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority is something that Supervisor Shucklian serves on. I know she's on there, but I do not serve on that. And the California Freight Advisory Committee is something that my predecessor served on, but that was not a board appointment. It was a state appointment. So that could be removed, as well as I think adding the Strategic Finance Committee membership to this planning membership committee, and all the CSAC committees, as I recall, those are voluntary, so it's not necessarily board appointment. It's based on whether or not we want that. So I don't know that those are necessarily relevant to this committee assignments. With that, with those corrections, I would move to approve.
Okay. Second
Second that.
We have a motion.
And just real quick, though, I do want to make the point on the CSAC committees. I think that the reason historically that they have been assigned the way they have is to make sure that Tulare County is represented, and that we always have a particular board member that is going to be in attendance at each of the various conference calls or conferences for various committees. So just making sure there's not a lapse of coverage.
I
Right?
think it's good to have it in there for that reason, yeah. So that's the motion, and the motion by Supervisor Crocker, seconded by Supervisor Ennis. Any further discussion? All, please cast your votes. I'll get that right here for a minute. Okay, and then vote passed unanimously. At this time, there was one other item Supervisor Crocker asked about, item 35.
Just a question or a request, and that's for the sheriff's department. Is I just like to see what our total costs that we've into the aviation program, and I don't expect that necessarily today. But if you could come back or send a memo or something with that as far as what we've invested into that, I would appreciate that.
Okay, good morning. Assistant Sheriff Tom Sigley for Sheriff Mike Boudreau. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Vanderpool. Good job last year.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
I can give you a rough estimate right now. As far as the 2 aircraft we have purchased, the 2 Cessnas, was about 1.25. What we're asking for today is not new money. It's reallocated money from our Homeland Security grant and asset forfeiture. All we're asking for today is to go out to bid with an approval up to $500. Once the bids come in, we'll come back to the board for approval to purchase.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with this, with moving forward. I just, so it's not really directed towards this. I just like to have an idea as far as what dollars, whether it's general fund dollars or grants, how much we've invested into this program and shown that we believe in this.
Right now, it's about $1.25 million, and about $300 of it is general fund money.
Okay.
The rest has come from insurance proceeds from, of course, the tragic accident, and then other allocated monies we had from asset forfeiture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Entertain a motion for
Move to
item
approve.
35. Motion by Supervisor Crocker, seconded by Supervisor Shucklian. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. And one final item that we will take up on our consent calendar, item number 8, requires us to go into closed session very briefly. So if you would please to have counsel from our legal counsel. So we'll be right back, probably no more than about 5 minutes. Board is back at session, and we are taking up item number 5 of our consent calendar. We have a
Item 8.
Item 8.
Item 8. We have some correction language that needs to be.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
forward.
The term ending date should be December 3rd, 2021.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, with that inclusion, I'd be happy to make a motion and approve this item.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Vanderpool, second by Supervisor Crocker. Cast your votes. Votes are unanimous in approval. We will now take up our untimed items, and that will begin with item number 37. Receive a presentation from the Arts Consortium, and this is not only regarding, but this will be an action to extend their designation as the official Arts Council of Tulare County. Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Samantha Furrow, Board Representative. Before I introduce our presenter from the Arts Consortium, just a very brief correction to the resolution for this item. Should you choose to move forward with extending the designation today, just wanted to make a comment that the resolution should state that you're extending the designation, not approving an agreement with the Arts Consortium. It's simply a designation to make them the Arts Council of Tulare County. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Ampelio Mejia Perez with the Arts Consortium, who will have a brief presentation for your board this morning.
Good morning. Welcome. You can use the microphone if you want to use that one. Okay. Always got a presentation.
Morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here and having me here. I just want to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about how our year has gone. We have relocated to a new location from 400 North Church Street to 300 East Oak Avenue, which is really just 2 blocks away. We've seen really good response. The traffic, the visibility, the facilities themselves are really nice for what we need. Unfortunately, they're still temporary. The city owns the building, and we're constantly doing our best to find a permanent location for the Arts Consortium and everybody who attends it. Our main mission is to connect artists, organizations, and our community together, reconnect people to the culture and the arts around here, which are a lot. We run an in-house mental health advocacy program called the My Voice Media Center throughout Tulare County, service pretty much every corner of the area, and we extend ourselves through there. We have a few participants in their respective cities like Tulare and Porterville, which have started small projects of their own, guiding people in the arts and helping them either through their wellness and recovery or keeping them off the streets. We showcase regional artists through Taste the Arts Festival, which is a street fair that we put on downtown Visalia, but it's about 4 blocks worth of art, music, food, family-friendly atmosphere, just a ton of different interactive activities that you can do throughout the day for free. We have our biennial South Valley Artist Studio Tour, which is happening this April 14th and 15th, and we are currently seeking artist studios. I'm not sure if any of you make art, but if you have a working studio and would like to be on this tour, you're more than welcome, and we'd be proud to have you. We have a First Friday Art Crawl, which we've just expanded from 6 months to 12 months. So it used to just go, I think, from March to September, and now we're going year-round. We just had our January show this last Friday, and we're looking forward to a mid-century modern celebration on the first Friday of February. We have special programs, which is actually fiscal sponsorship. So we help art startups here in Tulare County, like the First Saturday Art Market in Three Rivers. We have our Visalia Opera Company, which works throughout. Last year, they had events in Lemon Cove, and other places in the east side. We have the Tulare County Theater Boosters, which help throughout the county, the Urbanist Art Collective, which are actually now large enough that they have gone out and they're seeking their own 501c3. So coming here, I think in March or April, they'll be out on their own completely. And we're very proud of that, as sad as we are to see them go. We are really, really proud of being a part of their creation and their progress. The Spanswick Music Festival was their last iteration this year. If you ever made it out there, it was an art market and concert at the Memorial Building in Orosi. And again, those gentlemen they're so busy and they're so active in their communities that they can no longer put this festival on. So either way, we're still constantly looking for places where art makers and the community can get together, like the I Love Art Bro Art Market and Concert that goes on at the Cellar Door every Wednesday night. We're talking to people in Lindsay with the Veritas Art Center. We're talking to people in Porterville with the Porterville Wellness Center. We're talking with people in Three Rivers for our upcoming studio tours, but also there was a dance academy that was trying to start up there. Unfortunately, that one had to move on. We're also constantly seeking partnerships beyond Tulare County. Lately, we invited somebody to come down from Oakland who has a part in what's called the U.S. the U.S. Department of Arts and Culture. And she not only brought and represented her organization, but she also took some of our stuff back, and she's spreading the word between us. And we've kind of gotten into conversations with people throughout California who are from the Central Valley, who have moved out but still want to keep those connections. So hopefully we'll be able to get our artists out of Tulare County and bring other voices into Tulare County. We're very proud of the work that we do. We're very, very excited of that. Through an administrative change and through a facilities change, we've been able to not only maintain our programming but actually expand it. So that's really exciting. Again, these are our 5 special programs. Maybe you've noticed them through their logos. The Urbanist Collective is youth outreach with aerosol and wall murals, outdoor wall murals. Visalia Opera Company is what it sounds like. The First Saturday Art Market again, and then I Love Art Bro, County Theater Boosters, Tulare County Theater Boosters, and Spanswick. Our support from local businesses continues to grow. We are not just supported, we don't just receive support by arts organizations, but also engineering, farming, and really anybody that supports the arts. And really, that kind of brings me to the next point, is that the arts kind of transcend not only professional boundaries, but also political boundaries and cultural boundaries, and it's really evident in the organizations that support us. We're very proud of the partnerships that we have, and really excited to continue to expand them, because at the moment we still only have 5 part-time employees, and so we're doing the best we can, but it obviously would be great with a few more resources. So if it's not finances, we would really love to have your opinion, especially you who are constantly active in the community and know the needs of each community area. So share your opinion with us. Tell us what kind of art you'd like to see in Tulare County. And we have had some discussions about like the Mooney Grove Lily Pond and how we would like to see that revitalized. There are plenty of wall spaces that could use a little color here and there. Attend an event. Check us out. It'd be great to see you at either the Tasty Arts Festival or our First Friday events. Anything that you'd have time for. You could become a member. You could come to our meetings. We have rental facilities, a great rental facility, totally great visibility downtown Visalia, and it's fairly cheap. I think the most expensive part is the cleaning, if you need it, and that's kind of out of our control because we're exposed to pigeons. You could volunteer if you have the time. It'd be great to have you guys out and come out and tell us what you think and give us your input. We're looking forward to it.
Very good. The only thing worse than pigeons are geese. Supervisor Vanderpool.
Just a comment that I thought that was a great presentation, and I know that you are doing a lot to expand the presence of arts throughout the county. I've made this comment every time the Arts Consortium has come back for the designation, and you continue to make strides in this direction, but I would really like to see more of a presence in the south part of the county. I know that there are a lot of communities that would love for the presence of art in them. I know that there's a desire, and then there's funding, partnerships, those kinds of things, and those are important and necessary to make that happen. But for example, in Early Mart, one of the crown jewels in the park is an artistic design at the top of a shade cover that was done by the kids in the Early Mart Middle School. There are examples of art being present in these communities. I would just like to see it boom, because I think it would give them a lot more alternative to some of the activities that the youth do partake in down there due to the lack of activities. So anything that can be done, whether it's a partnership with the school district or even the library is a great partner too. And they do have locations and presence in numerous South County communities. So anything you could do would be great. Much appreciated.
I'd just like to sort of add to that too, because I looked at the list in the northern part of the county. We continually have great presentations. Typically, Cutler Rossi will have the most artwork for the annual Farm Bureau calendar. Dyneeb is very active, and yet there's nothing really from the Art Council that I saw on the list in the northern county. So whatever we can do to expand the reach of the Art Council would be greatly appreciated. Arts are the kind of thing which oftentimes get left out because there's so much focus sometimes in trying to deal with basic English and math and that sort of thing in our school systems, and sometimes arts kind of get cut out in that quest. But we all recognize that the arts have a very special place, not only in learning, but in appreciation of life. And so thank you for your efforts. I don't want to go with that being unsaid, but certainly there's a great need out there. Yes. Pleasure, Sheckman.
Yeah, I just thank you for the great presentation. I am a big supporter of art. I live with an artist, I have to be. But public art especially is high on my agenda. I'm excited about the project at Mooney's Grove. So anything that I can do to help with that, or any other art project. I've volunteered in the past at the Taste of the Arts and all. It's a great event. It's an opportunity for local artists also to put their wares out there with the vendor booths and all. So, thank you.
Else, Supervisor Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just reiterate what my colleagues have said, and I want to thank you personally for meeting with me and staff late last year and talking about some ideas of our partnership. And I think that I would concur that regardless of where it is. So if that means putting art in the North County or the South County, I think that's great. And so I think as a board, we can help with that by making sure that we're incorporating public art in our facilities there. And we talked about the libraries, and I think that's an excellent opportunity. We have 17 libraries throughout our county. It touches many of our communities, as well as fire stations, and perhaps in coordination with the sheriff, perhaps substations as well, incorporating public art and making sure that there are aspects of the county that we still have a county presence, even though we're most of our employees or our larger facilities are here in Visalia.
Very good. Okay, entertain a motion.
Well, before that, I have a technical question. It seems like they come back. Is this only a 1 year? Can this only be a 1 year appointment?
I think it's a 2-year.
This one's one.
It's 1 year. Okay.
Annually.
Is there a reason for that? Because it just seems I'm reading in the agenda, every year coming back for another year, coming back for another year.
Well, I think the one advantage of that is that it's an accountability issue and bringing us up to speed on what's happened in the course of the year. I mean, without this type of thing, we don't normally have a report. So I tend to think it's a good thing.
Okay.
It helps to keep us engaged, helps to keep the public engaged, because it gives you another forum, really, to advocate for public art.
Fine.
So I have a motion by Supervisor Ennis.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Crocker. Any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. Thank you for being here this morning.
Very much. Thank you.
All right, take us to item number 38, request from the Auditor, Controller, Tax Collector to approve revision of the employment standards for the position of Assistant County Auditor Controller. Class code 003302, in case you're interested in that. Good morning again, Cass.
Good morning. Cass Cook, Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector, and I am interested. The purpose of this item is to really basically strengthen the qualifications of the staff in the Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector office, while also allowing a degree of flexibility. The proposal would add the requirement that the Assistant Auditor Controller be required to have a CPA license as well as a bachelor's degree. Those are not actually required right now. It would also remove the requirement of the CPA license for the Chief of Financial Reporting and Audits and change that to a highly desirable qualification. Just so you understand, the Chief reports directly to the Assistant Auditor Controller. So the one reports to the other. The current Assistant Auditor Controller does possess these qualifications, a bachelor's and a CPA license. The Chief position is empty, so we're about to recruit for that position, and we are looking for a degree of flexibility as we fill that position. So as we are strengthening the Assistant Auditor Controller, we're looking for flexibility in the Chief to hire a well-qualified Chief. And also to let you know, of the accountant, what we term accountant auditors in our department, we have about 12 or so of those. 7 of them currently have CPA licenses, so we're not lacking CPAs within. And we have 2 more that are currently actively working on their to obtain their license. Hopefully, so within not too long, we'll have 9 within the office. So as I look at this position, we're looking for someone with great experience, someone with leadership knowledge, and really supervisory experience, but also someone who has a broad understanding, broad picture, not only of what we do in the Auditor Controller's office, but also countywide. And we feel that if we're able to change those requirements, we can get the qualified person that we need. We have wonderful people within the office right now who don't have CPAs, who have experience. We've had that before. Just looking for some flexibility here. I will also say, one more thing. We are actively encouraging our staff to go after various certifications. One employee just received the Investment Foundation certification from the Chartered Financial Analyst Institute. We also applied for a certification for our investment policy. There are a number of things that we're looking at. There's Treasury, investment certifications, payroll certifications, and the Government Finance Officers Association offers their certification too. So we're actively encouraging our employees to become certified, and we have employees working towards those certifications now.
Questions, comments? Supervisor Vanderpool?
Yeah, just a comment. I appreciate that presentation and you talking about the certifications and the effort to, I don't want to say raise the game, but one of the things that I know you were primarily focused on when you were appointed auditor, controller, treasurer, tax collector was really focusing on internal customer service and providing high-level financial advice and guidance is something critical, I think, coming from your department. And that, working along with what happens here in the CAO's office, is all just better for the county. It really is. And so I appreciate this. I think that a degree of flexibility is appropriate, especially given the number of CPAs in your office already. And that's also great for us to know that we have that many highly qualified financial individuals within the county. So that's great, and I'm fully supportive of CAS. Thank you.
Any other comments? Supervisor Crocker?
Thank you. I had a few questions, but I think you answered those. But I didn't. I think I missed it. Does the assistant currently not require a CPA license? And so we're adding that as a requirement?
That is correct.
Okay. Very good. That's
all right. Further questions? Any public comment? Any motion?
Move for approval.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Supervisor Ennis, seconded by Supervisor Vanderpool. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next, item number 39, a request from the Human Resources and Development Department to authorize to overfill a vacant Office Assistant 3-K allocated position with a Senior Account Clerk K classification. Morning, Ron.
Good morning, County Supervisors. The item before you is a request to overfill our vacant position, which we have, the Office Assistant 3, and this requires us to come before the board. We do have authority to underfill positions as department heads, but to overfill, it requires us to gain that authority. There is a slight cost in the overfill, a difference of approximately $1,874 on an annual basis. There is sufficient funding in the HRD budget due to 2 current vacancies within the department. The request is before you now because I have been advised of an employee who intends on retiring this fiscal year, and this is part of a transition process in our financial area to train up 2 individuals to help take the place of the individual who is retiring.
Questions? Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Ennis, seconded by Supervisor Crocker. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 40 is a request from the Health Human Services Agency to approve the revision of 2 at-will job specifications within the County Health and Human Services Agency, the Deputy Health and Human Services Director, Health Operations Single Allocation, and the Deputy Health Human Services Director, Public Health Single Allocation. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, CAO, County Council, Jason Britt, HSA Director. What's before you today these are 2 currently vacant positions that are in our public health branch of the agency. And one of them was recently vacated due to the promotion of Karen Elliott to the branch director of that. So as what we're continuing to do in the agency is to continue looking at our job descriptions to make sure they fit the current job duties that are being done today. So essentially that's what's before you here today is simply some changes to the title and some cleanup to the job descriptions to more accurately reflect day-to-day job duties, because I think these descriptions haven't been updated in quite some time. So just a brief presentation, but essentially these changes will provide us with the candidates with a clear understanding of what's required on a day-to-day basis, as well as help us in our recruitment efforts. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, very good. Thanks.
I think it's great that you're constantly reviewing to make sure that the job descriptions accurately reflect the duties. So with that, I'd move for approval, Mr.
Motion
Chair.
by
If there's no
Supervisor
public
Vanderpool,
comment.
seconded by Supervisor Innes. Please cast your votes. And the votes are unanimous. That will take us to item number 41. This is a great event. This is the request from the Resource Management Agency to reaffirm the categorical exemption prepared to CEQA and the state CEQA guidelines, and I'm not going to read the rest of it. I'm going to let you take care of that.
And I just want to also acknowledge that Ross went to UCLA, so go Bruins.
How they do in the bowl game this year?
They're hoping for the future right now.
Yeah. Optimism. Look at the UCLA commercials. Always talking about optimism.
How's that ball kid doing on UCLA?
All right.
New year.
Good morning to the new chairman and to the Board of Supervisors and the CAO and County Council. Thank you and Happy New Year. I'm here today to talk about the Yedeman-Seville Water System Improvement Project. We wanted to give the board an update since it's been a few years since the board's had a proper update on this project, as well as get the authorization to bid phase 1 of this project. And I am Ross Miller, a chief engineer with the Resource Management Agency, before I forget to introduce myself again. To give you an overview of what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to start with some of the background and history on this project, then move into a project update focused on phase 1, which is what we are seeking to authorize the bidding for. Talk a little about the governance component of this project, then go through the requests, and finally comments, questions, and discussion at the end. As a background, the county serves as the court-appointed receiver for the water system in Seville. It was originally managed by the Seville Water Company, and the county has stepped in as the receiver for this after a request from the state, and it was granted by a court order. The system has 75 active connections, and the current rate is $60 per customer. Excuse me. The Yedeman Water System is operated by the county as a zone of benefit within County Service Area Number 1. It has 65 active connections. Its current rate is $58, and it was built around 1995. The county also has sewer systems in both of these communities, which I will discuss a little later when we talk about the governance component. So the need for this project is quite great. The Seville water system, the state asked the county to step in because it was an antiquated water system. Many of the components were substandard. There were frequent leaks. There was little to no management of it for a period of time. And there's significant supply issues. The system is currently under a boil water notice for all water out of it. And that's a result of the lack of supply combined with the many leaks within the pipelines. There's also limited fire flow in the system, and none of the customers have water meters. The need for the water system in Yedeman, the current system there has had a history of testing over the limits for nitrates. So part of this project will include a component to provide new supply and blend it to handle that issue. The system also has no water meters. There's also limited fire flow, and some of the rates, especially for the sewer system, are unaffordable. So there's a lot of people that have come together for this project. The county has stepped in as the manager of the Seville system. We are also the manager of the Yedeman system, and we have the sewer systems in both, and we are leading this project. We've had outreach meetings for years with the residents of Yedeman and Seville, mostly led by Self-Help, who is also on this list. The Water Resources Control Board, who asked the county to take over, as well as who is providing funding for the design of this project, as well as the construction of phase 1, and presumably the construction of phase 2 when we get closer to that. We've also been working with the Rural Community Assistance Corporation, who has prepared a rate study for the water components and is in the process of preparing a rate study for the sewer components if a governance entity were to be formed. Our designer has been Provo and Pritchard Consulting Group, and we've had an environmental consultant of Live Oak Associates. And as I mentioned, Self-Help has been working very closely with the community on the governance component, as well as working with the county on some outreach efforts. So the project originally was one combined project. We've split it into phases to expedite the new system in Seville to try to bring improvements to the water quality there as soon as we can. So phase one will include a new water distribution system in the community with smart meters and fire hydrants. It will abandon the existing water system in Seville, and there are a few add alternates that are being included, including a emergency generator, as well as a 211,000 gallon water tank and a site. Therefore, that's all to maximize the amount of funding that has been approved under this that I will discuss a little later. Then phase two of this project will include an interconnection pipeline between the communities of Yedem and Seville. It will also include the installation of water meters in Yedem and a new well in Yedem to handle supply issues, as well as blending to ensure no issue with the nitrates, as previously mentioned.
Ross, question real quick.
Yes.
Is there not a new well in one of these projects that's specifically for Seville?
There is a new well in Seville that's already been constructed that we sort of viewed as kind of phase zero of this project.
That's temporary, is it not, though?
Pardon?
The new well that's there now is considered a temporary well.
It's considered a temporary well until phase two is completed.
Okay.
So this shows where the new pipeline will be, shows where the new pipeline will be constructed throughout the community. It's a well-designed closed loop system for the most part. When phase two comes in, it will come along State Route 201, complete this, extend as far to the east as funding will permit. We're showing you here, these are the community boundary, all of which will be included either within the proposed boundary of the governance entity or within the sphere of influence of the governance entity. And again, we're doing everything we can to maximize funding, and part of that is recognizing that we want to go to Caltrans for a permit to put everything in along State Route 201 as part of a single phase. So the schedule now, we're hoping to begin bidding this month, opening bids in February, after which we will need to execute a funding agreement with the state, which will be based on the results of the bid. We're hoping that will occur in May. We'll return to the board for a separate item. Also, the agenda item for this was a bit inconclusive. We had an incomplete sentence, which was in reference to our need to return to approve the funding agreement at a later time. We will, at either the same time or shortly thereafter, award the construction contract for this, again, aiming for May of 2018, with the goal of beginning construction in 2018 and completing construction by the end of 2018, possibly into 2019, but that will largely depend on some environmental factors, including the length of the rain season and the prevalence of California tiger salamanders in the community. The county previously applied for funding from the Water Resources Control Board. This was done under a resolution from 2016. The Water Board has authorized up to $5 million, but is not issuing a funding agreement until they receive the results of the bid, which is why we are doing all of the add alternates to try to maximize the amount of funding so we can use the most of that $5 million as possible. So, again, Self-Help has been leading the governance issue here. They've had a variety of outreach meetings with the community over the year and several monthly meetings lately. The preferred entity for the community was identified as a community services district. In order to do this, they talked about all of the various options they had. They even brought in members from other governing entities, mutual water companies, and CSDs to talk about how that works and what their responsibilities and duties were. The community likes this because it would provide more local control and a local election of their board. It would be a joint entity covering both Yedem and Seville. And it may include the operation of the sewer system. So the next steps, staff are working with self-help, and an application will be brought to the board in February, which will need to be submitted to LAFCO for approval in order to form an entity and start the process of getting it on the ballots with elections. The approval for LAFCO would be expected in May of 2018, with the election as part of the general election in November of 2018. For the requests, without reading the full one, we would like to reaffirm a previously approved categorical exemption for Phase 1 of this project. We'd also like to approve the plan specifications and proposals, subject to review and approval by County Council for Phase 1 of this project. We'd like to authorize the chairman to sign the plans and specifications and approve the advertisement for the bids of Phase 1 for this project, and as has just happened, for you guys to receive a presentation on this project.
Ross, I have a question. Thank you for that presentation. I remember when we went to Sacramento where the $5 million was approved for this project, there was a condition at the time about connections. In other words, they were not going to give us the $5 million unless we had come up with funding to actually make the connections of the system to the homes. How did we resolve that?
We are continuing to work on that. And do you want to talk about?
We have funding for that. Okay.
Could I
get
Maria?
Fine. Morning, Maria. Thank you for being here. Big day, right?
Yes, very exciting day.
Yes.
We actually, the Department of Water Resource issued a funding agreement to Self-Help Enterprises, and within that funding agreement included funding for various lateral connections throughout the county and well abandonments, and there was a specific allocation for the lateral connections for the Seville project.
Excellent, thank you. Because that was a little bit of an issue, I know, for us. I just want to make a couple comments. One is that I do believe this year marks the 100th year that the system that's now in place was built, if we have if our information is correct. And some of the original metal pipes are still on the ground from 1918. And that gives you an idea of why this is, when he says antiquated, it truly is antiquated. We've had serious problems, and of course this is a private system that we were asked to, as a county, to step in. I remember our board was somewhat reluctant to do that, recognizing like there's nothing more permanent than temporary government programs. And as we see this has been a long process. But I'm happy to see that we're looking at a finishing date that will occur before I retire from the Board of Supervisors. So this is a great thing for the community of Seville. It has many aspects to it. One is providing a water supply that will be clean and adequate. The other thing is because we've had flat rates, we've not been able to measure the water people have used, and so we've had problems with people abusing this system in terms of growing marijuana and different things out there and using water, and then we've not had enough water because some people have overused water. So now we're going to have the ability to measure that. People will pay accordingly. The other thing, it's always a big concern. It was a concern for your predecessor. The continuing concern is people paying their bills. We had no ability to turn people off if they didn't pay their bills. We'll have that authority. We'll have that power to do that, and the governing agency that will take over will have that power. It will be taken off the board's lap. It will become a separate entity, a government entity that is locally controlled, and they will operate the system, and they will control the system, and the county will be out of it. So there are so many positives about this project. I'm really very excited about that's coming forward today on this particular day. And thank you to the staff. Thank you for the community. And I want to give them an opportunity if they would like to. Are there any public comments anybody would like to make?
Mr. Chair.
And as they're coming up, Mr. Vanderpool.
You know, I just wanted to make a couple of comments about this. I really do think that this is a model type project. When you talk about consolidation of very small systems, it's something we have to look to throughout the county because as these systems exist just with, say, 65 connections, it's very difficult to have those residents pay a reasonable rate. And by consolidating systems, you achieve greater economies of scale, and you also give them some level of certainty into the future. One of the things I would like to recommend and concur with is the formation of a community services district. I know there's a LAFCO process that has to take place, of which I will be very supportive of there too. As we see in a place, for example, Alpa. Alpa had a joint powers authority situation where I appointed, or the Board of Supervisors appointed a couple of members on the JPA, and the Irrigation District appointed a couple of members on the JPA, and that's how that functioned. That was replaced with the Alpa Community Services District, and it does exactly what the presentation said. It puts the power in the hands of the people who are actually paying the rates and living in the community, and that's the best possible outcome for them. I'm hopeful that the rates of $58 and $60 per connection will maybe go down for some of the residents who are don't use as much of the water. Maybe if they're older or if they have a smaller household and use less water, they will be paying less money. But those who do abuse do exactly what Supervisor Worthley said, and they have to pay for that abuse. I think that's very important, especially in the drought-like conditions in which we've experienced over these past few years. So very, very supportive of this. I think it's a good thing for the county, and it's a great thing for the people in both of these communities. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Becky Quintana, resident of Seville. First of all, I want to thank Tulare County Board of Supervisors for stepping in, even though when we first started 10 years ago, the challenges, it was like didn't want to help out or weren't informed or didn't even know that Seville even was a community. But as for you new Board of Supervisors, just to go back a little bit back, I remember as a little girl, my dad was trying to get our water situation, because we had bacteria, same infrastructure. It's been over a half a century. Now it's been almost a decade that we started this process of trying to get clean water. And I just want to say that for you new board members, that, there's communities. It just happens that we're in Steve's communities, but there's other communities in Tulare County might be in the same situation that we're in. And we have to have an open mind to help other communities. I know you represent your own district, but it's about coming together. This is water is a human right. So I want to thank for the Board of Supervisors that came forward to help our community. And also I want to really thank Self-Help for being part of the process. We're in the works of working out and getting a CSD, working with Yedem. And it's been a really positive thing. And also, again, thank the RMA department for stepping up for our community. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? Yes, please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning to the board, and Happy New Year's to everyone. My name is Josephine Nieto. I also come from the community of Seville. I'm here just to thank every one of you guys for everybody that's been on board with us. It's been a long journey, but we thank God that we're closer to the journey. Thanks to everybody that's been with us, Self-Help, and may this be the beginning of a new era and good water for everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Josephina. Anybody else wishing to speak? Just a couple of concluding comments from my part. I'm happy that Maria's here. She worked for Self-Help, but she's been engaged in this process, I think, almost from the beginning, as I recall as well. I did want to mention another thing, and that is, and Pete touched on that a little bit about economies of scale. One of the benefits of this particular community in Seville is, if you saw the map, you saw this layout of a grid pattern. And so one of the things that's worked out very well for us is that we have a road system in place and we have rights-of-way. And so we were able to we will be abandoning the old system, which had its own rights-of-way and its own challenges, because we would have had to go through and look at getting rights-of-way from all the property owners. But by being able to use the road systems ourselves that we already own, we're able to do that without having to get that permission and go to all that trouble and expense. But it also provides, I believe, in the future, an opportunity of growth in this community. I know this is a community that has struggled to keep its school system going because there aren't enough. There is not enough housing people age, and as they age, their children grow up, and there's no place else for the kids to come back and buy a home. And so the ability and the opportunity to actually grow this community to increase the economies of scale, so we have more people paying into the system and reducing those overall costs, Seville has a great opportunity, I think, to do that. So that is one of the underlying benefits of this particular project, and so I guess you can tell I'm a little bit excited about it, and I think it's a great thing. As Pete says, it's an opportunity to look at other places within the county where we can do these kinds of consolidations. In fact, this is hopefully one step of a further consolidation, which would have a surface treatment facility that would provide water for these communities and other northern county communities. And again, for the idea of trying to reduce the overall cost and provide better water quality and water quantity for the communities. So with that, Supervisor Crocker.
I have two questions.
Sure.
The first is, I assume the county pays for the election if we go through the LAFCO process, considering there's no CSD.
Maria's shaking her head. I think it's paid for out of that fund.
I will defer to Maria on this one.
Self-Help Enterprises has a Prop 1 technical assistance work plan assigned for the community of Seville and Yedem, and through that work plan we have funding allocated to cover not only the costs associated with putting together the LAFCO application, but we also have funding there to cover the LAFCO fees as well as the election fees.
Excellent. That's great. And then as far as the $5 million that we've received for this, or that we've been authorized to utilize, is just from an accounting standpoint, our goal, if we go over, if the project with alternatives is over that, or do we want to be over, or do we want to be just under? I mean, we want to maximize what the state's authorized for us. So
yes, we want that $5 million is pretty much a dead cap, so we need to make sure that everything we're doing stays right under the $5 million. Where, as we go through and budget this, which we will return when we come for approval on the grant there, we will include a full budget breakdown as to administrative costs versus construction costs, contingencies, everything else that we would need to make sure that we are able to make this project work within that budget. And
because with the alternatives, it's slightly over the $5 million, but it's
yes,
not that much over.
Yes, and that's again based on an engineer's estimate that included a rather large contingency. So that's why our award will consider that before it's finalized when we bring back the construction agreement.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Crocker, second by Supervisor Ennis. Please cast your votes, and the votes are unanimous. Thanks for being here today, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. We'll move on to item 42, request from the Resource Management Agency to approve a memorandum of understanding with Self-Help Enterprises and Tulare County Association of Governments for improvements associated with Sequoia Commons affordable housing in Goshen. Morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Reed Shanky with the Resource Management Agency. Your board is well aware, as we just saw, how important our relationships are with the Self-Help Enterprises, and this is another example of one of these partnerships. I'll just do a quick introduction and then hand it over to Self-Help to kind of go through the rest of the presentation here. But real briefly, this is a request to enter into a memorandum of understanding with both Self-Help and TCAG, ultimately with the common goal of establishing affordable housing and multimodal transportation through a development in the community of Goshen on the corner of what would be Avenue 312 Riggin Road and the future Road 76. The Memorandum of Understanding is a requirement for Self-Help Enterprises as they apply for grant funding to proceed with the affordable housing community, including the transportation improvements that would be associated with that. So with that, I'd like to welcome Betsy forward, and she can go through the rest of the presentation here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Betsy McGovern Garcia. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development at Self-Help Enterprises. And we're here this morning to talk about how we can more effectively collaborate to leverage affordable housing in securing funding for transportation improvements Self-Help Enterprises has always excelled in affordable housing development and community improvements, such as the ones we just heard about in Yetum and Seville, but we've never been transportation people. And through the Cap and Trade funding program, this has really forced us to take a look at transportation and see how we can pair transportation investments in a more meaningful way with affordable housing development. So, as mentioned, we're seeking funding through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program. It is the state's cap and trade funded program for greenhouse gas mitigations. It is not an affordable housing program. It seeks to reduce vehicle miles traveled and GHGs through higher density housing. We're working on our next phase of housing in Goshen, which is 66 rental units. We previously pioneered a partnership with California Van Pool Authority, and in our projects that were funded in Dinuba and Lindsay, we included 2 vans in partnership with Cal Vans. We're expanding that partnership with this application to include 20 vans. So we will offer those to the residents in Goshen. We will then offer those to the larger community of Goshen, and then we will offer those to the larger community of Tulare County. We're hoping that will help the county achieve their GHG mitigation goals in the general plan and sustainable community strategy and provide our farm worker residents with more transportation opportunities. The project also includes sidewalks and bike lanes, so connecting up some of that infrastructure on Riggin and Road 76. We're going to include funding for transit subsidies, so all of our residents will receive free transit passes for a period of 3 years, and we're going to include money for marketing fixed route transit and also the California Van Pool program. So we're hoping to help the county increase the ridership on the fixed route service and really keep those vibrant in the community of Goshen. We'll also be including funding for a new bus stop on Road 72, which is identified in the Goshen Short Range Transit Plan. So we've been working with the county and TCAG and the City of Visalia Transit to implement that new bus stop. We'll also include funding for signalization of Road 76. So as we complete the Betty interchange improvements and Road 76, there's going to be a new circulation pattern going through Goshen and coming out of the industrial park in Visalia. So the application will include funding for that signalization and the build out of the remainder of Road 76. In total, we're including approximately $3 million of investments in improvements in the community of Goshen. So here's just an aerial photo of the site. We previously developed the 40 acres west of the project, which included Family Healthcare Network Clinic, Goshen Village 2, and 77 single-family homes, and then the 10-acre Peter Malik Park that you see there. And so you see just side of that, just south of that, the new bus stop on Road 72. That's a really great location because it's going to serve those existing 2 single-family or multi-family projects, the single-family housing, and also the SME single-family housing that's been constructed just east of that location. The site will also, or the stop will also serve the 89 new single-family units that are planned, and at ultimate build-out 4 phases of rental housing and 6 acres of commercial. In addition to learning transit, I'm also learning grocery stores because Goshen is a food desert, and we're hoping to ultimately bring fresh food options to the community of Goshen. And you'll see there the signalization of Road 76 and the build out of Road 76. Here's a site plan for the project. You'll see here that it's split into 2 phases. And this is going to be our third 20 unit per acre project. So Self-Help Enterprises has traditionally built at around 10 units per acre with a 2-story and single-story townhome configuration in an effort to be more sustainable and better utilize land and also be eligible for cap and trade funding. We've had to go to this 20 unit per acre product. You'll see that the buildings are L-shaped and we've incorporated tuck under parking. So as you drive through the project, you drive down Riggin and on Road 76 and Street F, you're going to see the beautiful facade of this L-shaped building. But then when the residents drive back in to access their units, they're actually going to have their own designated tuck under parking space. We're being more intentional with land use in centrally locating one large community building that will serve both phases So we'll continue to have on-site healthcare prevention services, ESL, and after-school program, all of the things that really help our working families be successful. We also have this large parcel C, which is a centralized park space. We're actually going to lose one single-family lot south of that, so there's connectivity between the single-family housing and the rental housing so that all of the residents can enjoy that park space and the community building. So just some photos. We're really proud of this. You'll see the rendering on the top and the 3D pencil elevation of what it was intended to look like. These are pictures from Dinuba coming along beautifully. You can see in the upper left the tuck under, the framing for the tuck under parking, and then in the other photos the facade of the building, which we think will be a really great complement to the community. So the partnership with the county and TK, we've always worked really well with the county. We've appreciated your ongoing partnership. This really just solidifies what we've already been doing and helps us check a box in our grant application. We really want to be meaningful when we're seeking funding for transportation improvements. We want to hear from you what the needs are. We want to hear from other stakeholders in the community. And then we want to design a comprehensive suite of improvements that will really get our residents using fixed route service, using Vanpool, walking and biking, and doing all the things that we need for healthy, sustainable communities. It is a three-party MOU between Self-Help Enterprises, the county, and TKEG, and Ted is here if you have any questions for him. Really, we're just looking for the county to continue providing expertise on the infrastructure, warrant analysis, design, engineering, all of those types of pieces of information that we need in designing projects, the permitting process, and then transit outreach and marketing, making sure our residents know how to access the bus service, how to use their transit passes, and things of that nature. TKEG has been a tremendous partner in providing technical assistance and just serving as a liaison between the county and the city transit and helping make some of those decisions. And then continuing to expand our partnership with CalVans. Each of those vans that's placed in Tulare County makes the county eligible for Federal Transportation Act dollars and really helps expand our overall county transit infrastructure. And so expanding that, and then other opportunities for partnership. We recently got funded through the Air Pollution Control District for a new partnership to put plug-in electric vehicles at 3 sites in Tulare County for ride share and ride sourcing, so that if families have a second vehicle that they use once or twice a week, they can get rid of that second vehicle, use the electric vehicle that's on site, and really save money and result in better air quality. So looking forward to more of those opportunities for partnership. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions you have about the MOU. We are hoping it will be approved today. Our application is due the 16th, so please do not contact me for the next week after this meeting. And then awards in June, and hoping to start construction in November. It is a 12-month construction schedule, so we're hoping that November of 19 we'll be moving families into that first phase of rental housing.
Thank you for a great presentation and such a great help. Self-Help has been such a great partner with the county, and I look at the community of Goshen and how much has been improved by the efforts of Self-Help there and by the community there. The donation of land that was originally given to the Self-Help to help facilitate this by the family that's been there since the 1880s, and this is a great project. Ted, did you have anything you wanted to say? Yes, okay. Any other public comment to this matter?
I just wanted to make a comment on this. I think this is a great project. And, again, I reiterate the words of Supervisor Worthley. Self-Help has been a fantastic partner, and I've seen Goshen come a real long way since I've been on the board. One of the other things, a comment that I made with the Arts Consortium, is I would sure like to see expansion of Self-Help's presence into other areas of the county. And one of the reasons I mention that is I've spent quite a bit of time dealing with the Early Mart School Board, specifically related to the park issue. One of the issues that comes up each and every meeting with them is the lack of housing in Early Mart. And I think it's an issue that we face in a lot of different communities, and that is declining ADA funding for these various school districts throughout the county. These schools are community centers in so many cases in our unincorporated communities, and if they lose that funding, the very existence of the school could come into question in the future. And so we have to look creatively to ways to bring in good, affordable housing, safe, affordable housing for residents, so that we can also help our counterparts in the school districts. And I think that this is a great example of ways that we can be responsible in providing this housing and partnering to make this available. And I really do like the effort here to change the design of the housing that's being provided so that you can access cap and trade funding. Look, those are tax dollars generated in many cases in Tulare County. It's nice to see proceeds of that program come back to Tulare County as well to benefit the communities that we all represent. So thank you very much, Betsy. I appreciate all the work that Self-Help does and the great partner that you guys are.
By the way, Betsy, the project in Dinuba is just absolutely stunning. It's going to be something. Any other comments, questions? No, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Before we make a motion, I would like to request that we made a couple slight changes to the MOU as it was presented in the agenda item. We clarified a few things just to better describe how the phasing of the project was, the timing of the project, and then added a joint indemnification clause to that.
All right. Very good. Motion to approve?
Okay. For approval.
Motion by Supervisor Ennis, second by Supervisor Sheklian. All, please cast your votes. Votes unanimous for approval. Thank you. Now you can go back to work, Betsy. Thank you. All right, that concludes our public meeting this morning. We have closed session requirements. Council?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item H was already heard and there is no announcement out. Item F is off calendar, so items A through E and G will be heard, and I do not expect any announcements out.
Okay, thank you very much. See you all in 2 weeks.